What is going on YouTube? Running on Sports back here with another video. Today is our NFL weekly news video. Don't got quite a lot of NFL news video to talk about today, and we got some. So we're gonna be releasing our top 5 NFL quarterbacks for the 2021 NFL season preseason list, of course. And a lot of people may disagree with our list, and some people may agree. So all the more fun, right? So it's gonna be a lot of fun to talk about it and tell you why I have each guy at each spot and whatnot. Just finished wrapping up the entire AFC North team reviews, the entire division we've done, the Steelers, Browns, Bengals, Ravens. So that was a lot of fun to talk about those teams. And team that I really enjoyed talking about, and out of those, whereas the Steelers was really fun, a lot to talk about for the Steelers. So I really enjoyed talking about that team. It's gonna be really interesting to see what their future holds for them. And anyways, with that being said, follow our social media pages at runandgun_sports on Instagram and at runandgunsports on TikTok. And let's get right into the video with the only news from the NFL this week. Jason McCourty signed by the Miami Dolphins, and in 2020, Jason McCourty had 30 solo tackles, 42 total tackles, and 3 pass deflections. Jason McCourty is 33 years in age, so obviously not the greatest or not the greatest season for Jason McCourty, and he's kind of digressing. He's kind of at that older age. Brother Devin McCourty, as you may know, playing for the Patriots still, and it's kind of tough to see him be split apart. And so, but I still think that it's going to add a good amount of experience for that Dolphins defense, which they already have a very good defense, in my opinion. And so I don't think that that's really going to be a problem for them, is adding experience to that team. They have young players on the defense, but I think that they're very good players on that defense, and we'll see how it pans out with Jason McCourty coming in. So already we're going to be moving into our top 5 quarterbacks coming into the 2021 NFL season. This is our preseason list, of course, and a lot may change from now since, some could get injured and, some may digress. Hopefully, no one gets injured, and we not wish that upon anyone. But with that being said, we're going to start out with an honorable mention, and so many great quarterbacks in the NFL today. You look at all the teams, and the struggling teams, in my opinion, in the NFL, it's not always quarterback play. I think all these guys are on a good level of talent, and obviously they're professional athletes. They've played the game for probably all their life, but they're all very good athletes. Whether you're talking about a Russell Wilson or Sam Darnold, they're great quarterbacks, and there's literally like less than 1% of college athletes make it to the NFL. Less of one, literally like 0.01% of high school athletes make it to college, especially the Division 1 level. And it's a very small margin of guys who make it to that level. And so I think that the struggling teams have bad receivers, and their quarterbacks can't perform with bad receivers. And whether that is, I don't know, whether it's just Sam Darnold or whether it's a better quarterback, and like Josh Allen, he doesn't have the greatest receivers. And so but I think that the mediocre teams, and a lot of people like to blame the quarterback. First of all, well, you have a guy whose receivers aren't performing well. He has no one to get to the ball to, and so that's why I say a lot of the times in my videos that I think that if you have a good amount of receiving talent, that your quarterback will not matter, and it won't, because we see guys like Jimmy Garoppolo, and no disrespect to Jimmy Garoppolo, he's a great player, but there's better quarterbacks than him, and he was playing in a Super Bowl not that long ago, and he had pretty good weapons, but the defense also really took that team there too. And so I think that if you have good enough receivers, and it's not going to really matter who the ball is throwing to. But I think that really the separation in between a Russell Wilson, Sam Darnold type of guy is that Russell Wilson obviously has way better receivers than Sam Darnold did at the New York Jets, and that's why I think the separation there is. And I think Sam Darnold would be a very good player as well if you gave him Russell Wilson's receivers, Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf. So, I mean, I still think that Russell Wilson's better than Sam Darnold. Obviously, I think he has more talent than him, but I don't think that it's like a long shot or anything like that. I think that they're both fairly talented and both very good players, but Russell Wilson has the edge in my opinion. That takes us to our honorable mention, which is Russell Wilson. 2020, he had 4,212 yards, 40 touchdowns, and 13 interceptions. Russell Wilson's really a guy who disappointed us a lot, honestly, especially as a Seahawks fan. I can say, for one, he was very disappointing, and I think that the Seahawks really overhyped him quite a bit. The organization was really hyping Russell Wilson up. After the first 5 weeks of the season, Russell Wilson was balling out insanely, 400 yards per game and like 5 touchdowns. And I think Russell Wilson, he's not. I'm not saying Russell Wilson is a cocky guy or anything like that, but it seems like Russell Wilson had kind of let that get to his head and started thinking that he had already won the MVP. And if Russell Wilson had played like that for all 16 games, no doubt Russell Wilson wins the MVP. But Russell Wilson fell off big time and struggled big, especially against the Arizona Cardinals through 3 interceptions. Still threw for 300 yards and 4 or 5 touchdowns, and just you can't turn the ball over that much. And he had 13 interceptions on the season, tied 31st behind Carson Wentz, the Philadelphia Eagles, and ridiculous. That's bad. That's bad quarterback play right there. Carson Wentz has no receivers at all, and being dead last in the NFL and their playoff team is just really embarrassing. And it's really a shame that he had such a good start to the season and ended up very just not good at all, not the elite caliber at all, as a lot of us were expecting him to be. But as I mentioned, 4,200 passing yards, ranked ninth in the NFL, tied second for most TDs with 40, and QBR 73.5, eighth in the NFL, and obviously interceptions very bad at 31st, which is almost dead last to Carson Wentz. So at number 5, I have the Arizona Cardinals quarterback Kyler Murray. 2020, his stats were 3,971 yards, 13th in the NFL, 26 touchdowns in the NFL, tied 12th, 68.9 QBR, 14th in the NFL. And Kyler Murray, the stats tell you that he's an average quarterback, and I think Kyler Murray is way beyond average, and I think he's above average for sure. He's a really solid player, very mobile and very versatile, elusive, whatever you want to call it. He's a great player. He can run. He's just young, I think, and sometimes will turn the ball over a lot. But I think that he's still pretty young, I think, and I just think that he needs a little more experience, and he can be a very solid quarterback at the NFL. And I think this year he's really going to do very well. The Arizona Cardinals have a lot of experienced guys on that team, and I think that they're really going to hold him accountable, and he's going to rise to the occasion. I will have no doubt seeing that at all, and I think that Kyler Murray will have a great season and will end up as a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. Number 4, I have Dak Prescott. Obviously, Dak Prescott only played 5 games last year. Fortunately, was injured and really had a great season so far. And his stats, 1,856 yards. That was first at week 5, the week he got injured. 9 touchdowns, 10th in the NFL at that time. 78.7 QBR. And those are really solid stats. And the Cowboys have a great receiving core, and that's like really good. And I think that Dak Prescott distributes the ball very well to the guy who he needs to. And if there's one guy having an off day, he's got many options. And I think that Dak Prescott really is like a point guard for that team, but really can manage the game very well, and he calls the shots, and he's very good at it, and that's why he's number 4 on my list. And I think that if hopefully the injury does not make his play any worse than it was before, and hopefully he can come back stronger, or just as strong as he was before, because he was on pace to give Russell Wilson a run for his money in MVP. Obviously, he suffered a very ugly injury. At number 3, we have Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron Rodgers MVP of the league last year, and it's really weird that you see an MVP have two guys in front of him, and so a lot of people might ask why. One of the reasons is I have really two main reasons for it. One is age. Two is right now this whole free agency frenzy with Aaron Rodgers right now. If the Packers lose Aaron Rodgers, it would be devastating for that team, obviously. And he's a great player and has brought Super Bowl for that team, and led them to 4 NFC championships. And he's a dominant player, really. And he's never really had that great of receivers. He had Jordy Nelson, but Jordy Nelson is not that type of a guy who's just a really a top receiver in the league. And besides Devontae Adams, his receivers are mediocre and slightly below average in my opinion. And I think that he distributes the ball very well. He's a game manager, can manage the game well, and I think that he's got one of the strongest arms in the NFL, if not the strongest arms. And we saw back a few years ago when he was throwing Hail Marys like it's nobody's business. And he's going to bring a lot of value to whatever team picks him up. I don't know who it'll be. It's right now sounding like if there was a team he'd go to, it'd be the Raiders or the Broncos. And personally, I'd like to see him on the Raiders or the Broncos, either one. If I had to pick one, though, I honestly don't know if there is one. I think that either way, I think that he fits the Broncos a little bit more. But other than that, I don't see any reason why the Raiders are any worse of a move for Aaron Rodgers than the Broncos. And I think it'll be interesting to see. That's one of the reasons why I have him so not low. I mean, number 3 is not bad at all, but he also just won an MVP. You have to count the fact that, and he's aging a bit, and the age isn't affecting him. Obviously, it's just will he be happy with the new team, and if he stays in Green Bay, I really think that will affect his play a lot. And no Packers quarterback has played for longer than 16 years. And Aaron Rodgers is coming up on his 17th year with the Packers, so it would be quite odd to see all the 3 Packers star quarterbacks before, including Bart Starr and Brett Favre, only play for the team for 16 years. That would just be really bizarre and really unfortunate, but odd coincidence. And we'll see what happens. But his stats last year were just incredibly, you saw how good it was. I believe that he had more passing touchdowns than they had punts on the season, which is insane. That's unheard of. But 4,299 yards, which ranked 7th in the NFL, 48 touchdowns, 1st in the NFL, and 84.4 QBR, 1st in the NFL as well. So just unreal stats right there from Aaron Rodgers. At the age he's doing it too is very impressive. And I think it'll be interesting to see how long he'll play for, and it will be a lot of fun to see what Aaron Rodgers does. Whether he's with the Packers or not, I still think he's a top 3 quarterback if you put him on any of the 32 NFL teams, and he'll find a way to make the playoffs and maybe make an NFC championship. And yeah. At number 2, I have Josh Allen. Josh Allen in the 2020 season had 4,544 yards, which ranked fifth in the NFL. 37 touchdowns, ranked 5th in the NFL. 81.7 QBR, very solid QBR right there. But a lot of people wonder why Josh Allen is at 2nd on my list when all his stats show that he's 5th in rankings. But I think that stats are a bit overlooked at times. I think a lot of times you got to look at the QBR, and the QBR is a very valuable stat. It's really just how efficient of a quarterback you are. And I think that Josh Allen's one of the more efficient quarterbacks we've seen in a while. And he can run, and he's not a Lamar Jackson type of runner, but he'll run through some guys, and he can't juke anyone out or anything like Lamar can, but he will run for a first down if he needs to. And he's not like, basically he can move around in the pocket, and so he's very very, very efficient for that reason. Being able to move around in the pocket, being able to run if needed, and he does very good at what he does, and that's why I have him at second. And I really think the Bills, whether they complete it or not, they're going to go on a revenge tour, and I don't know if they'll get past the Kansas City Chiefs. Right now, my prediction for the Super Bowl of the 2021 season is the Buccaneers. I mean, they're returning 22 of 22 starters. It's absolutely insane. And that's why I think that, but I think that the Bills could get past the Chiefs, and if they don't get past the Chiefs will lose to the Bucks again. But one way or another, the Bills are going to have a good season next year. They're going to be fighting for revenge. Whether they get their revenge or not is the question. And I think Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs will take on the mentality of trying to get that AFC championship for that team that has not seen a Super Bowl ever, let alone an AFC championship in a while. Moving on to our number one quarterback for the 2021 NFL season, we have Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes obviously was second in the MVP race, and he had a great season as well. Kind of fell off a bit, but I don't know if it was more of Patrick Mahomes falling off or Aaron Rodgers just playing absolutely out of his mind. And that's a good question. And honestly, I don't know if there's a real answer to that, an honest answer, because both those guys, Mahomes didn't fall off too terribly, but Aaron Rodgers was playing insane, but Mahomes did kind of slack a little. A game versus the Miami Dolphins, I believe he threw two interceptions, which is unheard of for Patrick Mahomes. But there's a lot of teams that where he's playing like the Atlanta Falcons, they almost blew it against that in that game, and he threw two interceptions that were dropped. And so I think that sometimes he tries to force it a little and tries to make the play, which isn't always a bad thing, but sometimes you got to learn how to take a sack. And I think a lot of the quarterbacks this day and age are so used to being able to get out of a sack with their legs that it ends up causing them to lose even more yards, which is unfortunate. But I still think that it's not that big of a deal. But Mahomes obviously is a great quarterback, led his team to a Super Bowl, and I think Mahomes will win a Super Bowl again. But I don't know if it will be versus the Buccaneers because Tom Brady is unreal in the Super Bowl. And looking at his stats, 4,740 yards, ranked second in the NFL, 38 touchdowns, ranked fourth in the NFL in QBR, 82.9. Very solid year for Patrick Mahomes all around. And just his third year, he just signed one of the biggest contracts in the NFL. And a lot of people say that is too much. It's a lot of money, but I think in 10 years we'll find out whether he was worth it or not. And that's going to be a very interesting story to tell. And very interesting. That's $500 million right there, and it'd be interesting to see if he can live up to the hype. And who knows what the Chiefs expect of him when they signed him to that deal, because that is a ton of money. That will wrap it up for today's video. If you guys have not already, please leave a like down below, subscribe, and share this to your friends. Thank you.